saw the sun for the first time today. It's been so long, I thought you'd gone away, and now I feel as though I've been here before. Once again, my friend, I'll see you till the end. Here I am, this is me. What you get is what you see. Look around, I am free, and there are no fears in me. At times the world seems to scare me so. I don't know where I'm headed, and I don't know where I go.
Good evening and welcome to Queeries. I'm Brian, your host. And with me this evening, I have Chad McCoy. Hi, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This is your first time being on Queeries?
I was actually on Queries once before for
Really?
P-Flag.
Oh,
P-Flag
good
Day.
heavens. Probably a while back.
It was a while back.
I've
yeah.
lost track of how many years we've been on the show. We've had the show at this point. But tonight you're going to speak to us a little bit about a new LGBTQ plus business networking group that you've started. So first of all, why don't you tell us what the official name
Sure.
is?
The official name is the LGBTQ plus Dayton Professionals Group, and we just kind of started it back in March. It was kind of the idea of Mike Embry, a local realtor, myself, and being an insurance agent, and then we recently just added on Bobby Mitchum. Kind of we're the three, kind of the core group that's really been trying to
The
get
three
this-
amigos.
The three amigos, yes,
so to speak.
you know,
Okay,
so to speak.
excellent. What actually led you, you as a group, to sort of talk about the need for this, and then to actually implement a plan to create it? What was the driving force?
It started. Mike Embry came to me first and said, "What do you think about this idea of starting a local networking group of LGBTQ plus professionals? We want to include the allies as well." And because we really didn't have that in the community that we were aware of. So he brought it to me. I'm like, sure, we might as well try it, see what happens, which is really how it all began. Mike and I are in a H7X local networking group. It's a formal networking group. So that's kind of, I think, we both got involved in that. And then we're like, why don't we have something for our own community that we can tap into?
So it's almost kind of like those, because I periodically, and I'll get emails or whatever for like it's almost like a meetup kind of thing, or what have you. So it's kind of the same thing.
It's
really
similar to that. We actually, what we wanted to do is like a speed networking type event where we can actually get people there and they can discuss various topics with a smaller group of people. We try to do it between like a 3 to 4 people that can get together at one time. There's a topic they can talk about, and then they can move on to the next group. Now that's what we've done so far. We've tried to tweak that out of the first 2 events, and we're still tweaking, trying to figure out what might be the best way, or just change it up every time.
It's almost like business speed dating.
Yeah, that's what people say. They're like, is this speed dating? And we're like, no, it's speed networking.
Same general principle, but
same principle, yeah.
Excellent. Now, in terms of a group like that, I know that, because sometimes, when I, look, get an email, and it's, this meetup group or that meetup group of professionals and whatnot. There's kind of this thing, well, I don't even know if I would be someone that should even bother doing this because, the business that I work in might have nothing in common with any of the others. So if someone is thinking that to begin with, number one, are they going to be welcome? And what can someone that's kind of new to the whole thing expect?
Yes, definitely they're welcome. The idea is not only to have business owners, but also business professionals who just really want to meet new people, kind of build their own network. They might be new to the Dayton community or just haven't done a lot of networking. So it's really open to anyone who really wants to get out there and really see the other businesses that are gay-friendly, like-minded individuals getting together. So that's definitely open. If you're thinking, why should I? It's really just it's a fun, casual way to meet people and to network with other people. We try to make it fun and casual. It's not real stuffy. You do, of course, you can bring your business cards. We do collect those because we do try to make sure everyone that comes will know who was there. If you don't even get a chance to meet every single person, we always send a follow-up with a whole and offer the list if somebody is interested in seeing who was there, and maybe that's a business that I want to help support or want to know if they're in the community. So.
Now, is this something that it just in terms of the business professionals that we're talking about, because I think to a degree some people also think, well, obviously it's people that work at LexisNexis or they work at Care, larger companies, but this really runs the gamut from like small business all the way up to...
Completely, from small business owners all the way up to corporate. Myself, I'm a business owner locally. I work for a big company, but I have my own agency. So, and then we have people like Mike, who works for a fairly big company, Sipsy, but he does his own thing. So it's really kind of those people that really need to have people they can rely on and people they can build their network. So yeah, it runs the gamut. We've had other small business owners that have just started their business, an optical group that just came to our first one that just opened their doors, and they're proud, and they have the rainbow on everything, and I'm like, wow, good for you.
Wow.
And so they were just really wanting to try and meet new people too. So the whole gamut of professionals.
Also, I think a lot of people may think, well, Dayton's kind of small, so it's going to be like this, the same 20 people or what have you, and whatnot. But that's really not the case, is it?
Not the case, and that's interesting because we just started in March. March 22nd was our first event, and that we had about close to 30 people. The second one we just hosted, and this time we did get a sponsor, Tim DeHart, who owns AAA Wastewater, stepped up. He lives in the Delco Lofts, so got us the community room to use there. And we found that the whole list was completely different of who attended. We had about the same number of people, but there was some overlap, but not like we had anticipated, thinking, wow, so there is a variety of people that will come and attend. So.
Well, and I think what would be interesting too is, friends and I, periodically talk. I mean, I'm 29, 17 years in a row.
Good for you.
Exactly. Just I'm hanging on. I won't let go. But one of the things that myself and a few friends, it's like it's kind of like. We're looking for something that, where you can go and you're not shouting over like loud music and, you're not, pushing away a young, drunk, whatever, out of the way kind of thing. Yeah. And this almost sounds like this might be an option.
Right, I would say definitely an option. It is still a way that you're networking, you're meeting people. There's definitely, it's not the bar scene by no. There is a structure. We do check you in. You do have to sign up on Eventbrite we've been using. So we do give back to a charity of choice. So you're actually doing something with your registration fee. And it's a way to really learn about the community and others in the community and different topics. There's different topics that you talk about in the speed networking. I think on the last group we had just talking about social media in the world today and how it affects business and how it affects you as a consumer. So this is one of the topics that can be discussed. So it is more of a intellectual type meeting versus just going to the bar and trying to meet people that way.
Well, and that's also an interesting topic, especially the social media piece, because especially of late with everything that's been going on with people with their cell phones, witnessing people spouting racist nonsense and all that. And then what they're doing is they're going right to these individuals' companies and saying, "Hey, look what your employee is doing." So I mean that's got to be interesting from a business perspective in terms of how on earth do you even begin to handle something like that?
Exactly.
So I can imagine that was probably an interesting conversation.
Right, and in those segments, the last one we kept it like a 10-minute segment, and that was the thing. People just wanted to continue to. We can't rotate yet.
No, that's really interesting.
So some of the topics are good, and of course you get to introduce yourself. We do you can do your own commercial, the first 60-second, 60-second commercial on yourself, just so everyone knows you, and then they get into the topic. So,
gotcha. Yeah. No, that's really interesting. Now, in terms of, speaking about, in terms of the current what's going on currently, especially politically and whatnot. Do you view this as something that's important in light of that for gay business owners or gay professionals getting together and kind of circling the wagons a bit, maybe?
Yes, I think it is very important. Dayton is a small community, and Dayton is, in Ohio, is very conservative overall. So I think if you can network and know those individuals who are going to support you, not only in your business but in your personal growth, then that's very important. And people need that. I think we are a small community, and you want to know who to go to if you need whatever service that you're going to be accepted and welcome, and also to reach out to those allies. At this last one, we did have, I would say, more allies at the last meeting than we did at the first meeting, which was a very interesting dynamic as well. They got to interact with all of us and learn more about our businesses, and a lot of them didn't even know, what different people did in the community. So it helps them also get on board, which we definitely need as well.
Now, in terms of, obviously since it just got started, you're kind of in that whole startup mode and whatnot. I would imagine, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, are you kind of in that mode of figuring out what works, what doesn't, tweaking here, tweaking there?
Exactly.
Kind of thing?
We did, after the first event, we did put out a survey to all the attendees just to get some feedback on, is it the right time? Is it the right day? Is it the right venue? And to get some additional feedback on what individuals would like to see. Did they like the speed networking portion? Would you, any ideas and feedback? So we did that on the first one, got some ideas. The first one we asked about a Facebook page, and it was overwhelming. People, yes, we'll follow a Facebook page.
Sure.
So we just released that in June, right, with Pride. We kicked that off, and then set up our next meeting, which was June 26th. And then just since that one just finished, we just released the survey. I think I did that last night, actually. We released that to get more feedback, just about the venue, about the flow, and things like that, and what we can do going forward as well.
What do you envision this looking like? If you even, even if you even have a vision at this point, but let's say for a year from now or 5 years from now, what kind of vision do you have for this group?
Well, I think our goal right now, and we don't have an official vision, but I think it really is just to make sure we have an event every quarter. Our goal is to have a networking event every quarter for the community, and then we're hoping to do a business expo once a year, probably later in the year, probably the final quarter of the year. And we're hoping that will then draw people to be able to to highlight all the businesses that are supportive in the community, and be able to highlight all of them once a year. That's really the plan right now. Once we got Bobby Mitchum on board, he works for Shumsky. He created our fancy logo, so now we have a nice new logo, and he did a promo item at the last event, which was new. So everyone got a cup, like a wine cup with our logo on it. So things are changing now that we have a promo person involved.
Right, exactly.
So things will be changing with that, but we don't have anything solid yet.
Gotcha.
But quarterly, and we've stuck to that. We had our first one in March. We had our second one in June. Our next one is scheduled for late September, and then if we do pull the Business Expo off, we're shooting for probably December for that, so to finish up the year.
Well, and I think that I think what it will be interesting to see, is I guess would be as would be traditional with anything really, is that if this generates interest, and then you have something that splinters off this, as far as that goes, it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out over the course of time, and especially because again, the whole point of this is people getting to know one another, and I would even imagine that this is, to a degree, kind of like a large brainstorming session in a way, that you start with a topic and then you start I can imagine, me hanging onto a table. I'm not done talking yet. Please don't make me go. Please don't, kind of thing. But no, that's. I mean, I think this could spawn an awful lot of.
Yeah, and the idea too, I think, is if you come to an event and you make a connection with somebody or multiple connections, the idea is then to have that contact available. Then you can set up a one-on-one for yourself. And get to know them further, how you both can help each other in your business or your professional life, that sort of thing. So it doesn't just stop at the networking event.
Right.
Hopefully that's going to overflow with people making additional more solid connections with each other.
Gotcha. Well, and I mean, I think it's very interesting because, again, for me, in the past, I've just kind of sloughed it off as, well, based on what I do, I don't know that I'd really have anything to contribute, blah, blah, blah. But from what I'm gathering, that's a very incorrect assumption to be making.
Very incorrect, yes. I think in the first one especially, because people were like, what is this? What am I doing? But after that, people were like, wow, it wasn't what I expected. It was very casual, very fun. We're not stuffy by no stretch.
Right. Sure.
So very informal, and it's just a way to converse and network and talk about different issues. So,
no, that's really interesting. I guess the next thing, in terms of like once things really get rolling, let's say you do the business expo, do you see anything where kind of like we were talking before, and or earlier we were on from PFLAG before, where you maybe do some outreach to other businesses, maybe that aren't necessarily allies, but they're not necessarily
right.
I don't want to say enemies, but they're not hostile to the idea.
Right. They just don't know about the. They might not have a culture like a diversity and inclusion plan or something.
Right.
But
do you see as that as a possibility too?
Yes, and that's interesting you brought that up because Mike and I, in our own networking group, that's kind of the direction we wanted to go, and so we thought that same model could happen here. If we get a group together that can provide free services to a local business that needs some assistance with whatever the case is, and just to know how to be inclusive and diverse in your operations, then definitely that would be something we would love to be able to get behind.
And then it just kind of steamrolls from there, I would imagine.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So, wow, no, again, it's the whole thing of thinking in terms of, and in my position, I'm a manager, and I'm in charge of 20 different instructors, kind of thing. It's like herding prima donna cats, depending on the day. But no, I think that again, it's kind of a common thing. If you manage people, it doesn't matter what business you're in. How do you deal with a workforce that is spread out across the country like mine is? And I think it could yield some very interesting.
Right, and provide some resources, like to you. You might have a question for somebody else who's had that experience,
sure.
And then that can help you as an individual in your management style as well. So,
right,
yeah.
No, that's excellent. Now, in terms of if someone is interested in joining, I think you mentioned that there was like a registration fee, or is
right, and really you don't join the group. You can just follow our Facebook page. If you just search for LGBTQ Dayton Professionals, you will find our group. We're the only one out there right now, so you can like the page. Everything will be pretty much on that page. If we have our next event, we'll put that out there on that. You can follow us there and message us there if you have any questions on the event. Now, when we do an event, then that's when you pay. Right now it was $5 our last event. You made a $5 donation to solidify your spot at the event, because we do have limited space at some of the venues, and we don't want to get it too big. We want to keep it, we wanted to keep it around 40, so that's why we had just the $5 donation. And then the host or the sponsor, we allow them to pick the charity of choice, and then we just give the money back to the charity.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So it's still kind of like a loose confederation of.
Yeah.
It's not like you're not a
Right,
money
you're
making.
not right. No, we are definitely not applying for nonprofit status or anything like that. We're just a group that gets
Just get
together,
together
and if we get some money, we give it.
Okay.
We give it away.
Gotcha.
We don't do anything with it. for
Excellent.
sure, Yeah.
Well, in terms of, again, where can people go to find this
They
out?
can go to Facebook, go to the LGBTQ Dayton Professionals Group. If you search for LGBTQ Dayton Professionals, it'll pull
pop
up.
right
Yeah,
up.
and you can just like the page there, and then that will keep you connected with, if we have an event, the next event will be posted there as well. We don't have any additional website or anything like that. We're
Gotcha.
just on the Facebook.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Chad, for bringing all this
Sure.
to our attention, and
Great.
definitely check this out, and we'll be right back.
Awesome.
Hello everyone, welcome to Gnoming Around. I'm Mike the Gnome, and today we're going to discuss some information, care, and maintenance of a particularly special perennial to me, the peony. There is so much to love about the peony, from its foliage, shape, size, colors and bloom, and fragrance. The peony is a perennial for zones 3 to 8 depending on the variety, but this is a good rule for most of them. For those of you who don't know, here where we are is right on the edge of both zones 5 and 6. Different varieties of peonies can get 2 to 4 feet tall and 1 to 3 feet wide and do all of that growth in just a couple months. They start off as little sprouts that are red, and then as they get bigger and bigger, they turn a rich dark green with red still framing some leaves. The leaves themselves have a beautiful shine to them. The foliage alone is stunning, but the little buds it develops get bigger and bigger too, until they literally burst with color as blooms the size of your hand or a small plate. And the fragrance is just amazing. I can't wait for my garden to have enough peony blooms to cut for arrangements in the house. I want to share some fun facts with you in a little side segment I like to call The More You Know. Peonies are native to Europe and Asia, where they were used for medicinal purposes like curing headaches, relieving pain in childbirth, and treating asthma. They were also used to shield out demons from your house and then to bring good luck, since it is the floral symbol of China and the state flower for Indiana. Its most traditional use is to celebrate the 12th anniversary year of marriage. From day to day, though, if you do see ants on your peonies, start cheering, because ants are extremely helpful in opening those buds to bloom, and they keep out other harmful bugs away from your peony. It's like a trade-off, really. The peony gets to bloom, and the ants get food from the waxy buds. And that's the more you know. Now, if you already have peonies, keep in mind the blooms tend to get really heavy, and they tend to droop pretty low. I keep mine up in a round cage with taller stakes. It just keeps them looking full and perky. You can also deadhead them, so when the bloom is spent, you're left with lush foliage. They bloom in mid to late spring generally, and each bloom only lasts for about a week, so the deadheading is pretty smart. If you don't have any peonies yet, but you want to add them to your garden, you can purchase them in full or young growth states, or from roots. I chose to grow mine from root. It took a few years to get blooms, but it was definitely worth it. And now it feels like a legacy of peonies is in my garden. And peonies do love sun, but they also do pretty well in shade. You get more blooms in the sun, but they tend to add that great pow of color for those shady areas. My peonies, they only get a couple hours of sun a day, and they get bigger each year, and they bloom just fine. If you do choose a shady area, though, make sure that you research the variety you want, so that way it'll be really successful in that particular area. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video of one of my favorite perennials. Until I see you next, get out and start gnoming around.
And again, welcome back. And again, I'd like to thank you, Chad, for speaking about this networking group. I think it's going to be very important, especially I think getting LGBTQ plus professionals together and circling the wagons a little bit, and also doing some outreach. So again, they can go to Facebook and look you up as far as that goes, and we'll make sure that we put the link down below or on our site, so that way you may see more people popping up
We'd love that.
as far as that goes. And again, thank you for being on the show, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
I saw the sun